Hi, I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we are East-West Audio Body Shop. Well, we've been talking about different types of acting and voice acting and all sorts of weird stuff the last few weeks. Let's get back into technology. We've got a great guest, a couple of great guests. We've got our all-time greatest sponsor, a guy we love, Harlan Hogan from Voiceover Essentials will be here to talk about the stuff he's got there, and he's bringing a couple of guests with him, so it's like double guests. Michael Goodman and Dave McRell from CEntrance will also be with us to talk about their new interface called MixerFace.
That's right. I'm wearing one on my shirt right now. I'm very excited about it. It's going to be a lot of fun to get a little behind the scenes on what's going on in developing a new product. I'd like to talk about let's try video again for coaching or for directing. Almost everybody's got a webcam. Why aren't we making more use of it? So I'm going to propose that idea, talk about the ways I think it might improve your life as a voice actor.
And one of the things we have as a voice actor is a home studio. But is that what we should call it? In my tip of the week, I'll explain maybe some better terminology. That's East-West Audio Body Shop, Monday night, 9 o'clock in the East.
And 6 o'clock in the West.
And join us in the chat room. Lots of fun there. We'll see you there.
He's the home voiceover studio engineer to the stars in Los Angeles, California. A Virginia Tech grad whose knowledge of the latest recording gear is second to none. He's a voice actor and the home studio master, hailing from Buffalo, New York. His home studio skills and knowledge of voiceover recording is unmatched. When Dan and George talk shop, people listen, and the talk continues tonight. Welcome to East-West Audio Body Shop. And now, live from his high-tech facility in Santa Monica and his penthouse studio in Buffalo, here are George Whittam and Dan Leonard.
Good evening. I'm Dan Leonard in the East.
And I'm George Whittam in the West.
And together we are East-West Audio Body Shop. I wonder if they all say that together out in the audience.
Wouldn't that be fun?
I know. Well, I mean, it's great when we're live, when we're at people's houses and we do the show live and people actually all say that together.
Do you remember that show in the 80s called That's Incredible?
Of course.
Go,
with
That's incredible.
John Davidson.
Yeah, that was a great show.
It was.
Now there's like
That's
hundreds.
Incredible.
Now there's hundreds of shows like that on TV.
Yeah, that was like one of the first, sort of reality shows.
My favorite new show right now is the Battle of the Unbeatables or something like that.
The Battle of the Unbeatables. Something
like that. It's basically one industrial machine versus another industrial product. Like last night was the most powerful drill versus the most difficult to drill, metal. Like some company made a alloy just for the competition. I mean, it's the most geeky thing ever. But I
was going to say, this is what geeks watch, everybody.
Oh, there was one. It was a World War or like a Vietnam War era flamethrower.
Yeah. Versus
a fire truck from an airport. Seeing if the fire truck can put out the flamethrower. It was awesome.
Wow. That's like, Greatest Warriors. I remember seeing, Great Chinese Warrior versus Tamberlane.
Yeah.
Or Vlad the Impaler.
Oh, I know.
Something like that. Anyway, I sense a minefield tonight anyway.
Well, let's see what happens.
Yes, we've got a great show. There are lots of you who are tuned in tonight because you want to hear our guest, a man who never a lack for words. Harlan Hogan, our number one ace sponsor from Voiceover Essentials. He's going to talk about some of the new stuff that he's got. And Dave McRell is going to join us also from CEntrance Electronics. They're going to talk about their new MixerFace, which is going to be kind of cool. We've talked about it before, but they're actually going to demonstrate it.
That's cool.
We'll see what happens.
Excited.
And I've got my tip of the week, which is short but sweet. And you want to talk about using video again. I mean, I use it, so what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I don't even know why I said again. I guess the video and webcams have been around for a pretty long time now, right? I mean, we've had the ability to send video between each other for, I don't know, how long has it been now? At least 10 years that the average user has had a webcam or a laptop with a camera or something in it. So what I'm wondering is, why on earth am I showing Dan instead of me since I'm talking? Let's switch cameras. There we go. No, what I'm wondering is why we're not using video more. So, I mean, one beautiful thing about having a home studio, and we all joke about it, is being able to be sitting around in our bedclothes, hair unbrushed, mustaches out of whack, the whole thing. We can sit there and just, do our jobs, and it doesn't matter what we look like or what the studio looks like. And that certainly has a lot of appeal. And that's one, I think, reason why so many people are happy working with, and working in the voiceover industry. You don't have to, it doesn't matter what you look like.
Don't have to put on your makeup.
You don't have to put on your makeup. I get it. All those things totally make sense. However, wouldn't it be nice to have the connection again between you and the client or the director that you're working with that you no longer have because you're not physically in the same studios with each other, okay? Now, so for some of you, you may never have worked in your entire life in that situation. Some of you are new to the industry and you've only worked from home and you've never worked with video involved, or you've never worked face-to-face with somebody. So to you, it's a totally different and new experience. But for a lot of others out there that have worked in commercial studios around the world, I hear it all the time, how they miss the connection that they have with who they're working with, how they don't get to read each other's body language. It's a different game now that we're only working by audio and we can't see each other. So basically, all I'm saying is, why not start trying to use the webcam again? Skype is so pervasive. It's still free. It'll probably be free forever, as far as I can tell. It's so pervasive. Why are we not using Skype? It's amazing how many clients that I work with that have been working in voiceover for a long time that don't have Skype, or they don't even have a webcam available to them in their studio. Start using your webcam. Start turning it on. Start telling your clients that you've got video and audio, and start making that connection a little bit nicer and richer with your. Yeah, there's that. I don't know who that is.
Unless, of course, you've got that going on in your backyard.
Unless you got that going on. I got my windows wide open tonight, folks. Look over here. See? Windows wide open.
It was like 100 degrees there today.
It was, our equivalent of 100, which is 85. But, turn on your camera, let people see where you are, let people connect with you. I think it's going to make for a richer experience, and I think it might create a more endearing connection with the client. Once they see you and work with you face to face, they're going to want to probably see you again and not just hear you. I don't know, Dan. I mean, have you, as a voice actor, you presented the idea to your clients? Has it been something you thought about doing, or is it just a distraction, something else to get in the way of getting the work done?
Well, I've discovered that Skype and my computer and recording sometimes don't mix very well.
Right.
Has something to do with bandwidth and stuff like that.
That's absolutely true. I mean, look at what we deal with on our show. The Skype uses a lot of power. It's true.
That's right. I mean, I can keep my coffee warm, keeping it on top of the computer with what we have to do. But but I have found the way around that is to take out my iPhone or my iPad and just place it up there in front of me.
Yeah.
And I've got it right there. I don't look at them, but they can watch me, and I can hear them, using headphones, and it works very, very well. They can see me, and but for the most part, I've just been using audio with Skype for doing coached sessions and direction and stuff like that. But occasionally, I'll put it on. I'll say, okay, I'm going to go on Skype. They go, do you want to use the camera? I'm like, yeah, sure. And I think you're absolutely right.
Do you think it enriches the experience at all, or do you think it's still really just a distraction and just really not worth the effort?
Well, I wouldn't call it a distraction. I mean, it's like, you finish reading the copy and you look up, how was that? I don't think it's a distraction. Enrichment, the only enrichment I really want is, how do I do this the way you want to do it?
Right.
Want me to do it. And sometimes that might take, when you're in a regular studio, might be looking at you, but sometimes you're just wearing headphones and they're talking to you from somewhere. And,
your face is buried in a copy stand anyway. You're not even looking at who's talking to you, right?
That's right. But face-to-face is still very, very important. So if the situation calls for it, I would say, turn your camera on. I mean, many times if you're just having a meeting with people, it's good to do a face-to-face. So
yeah, it's very effective. You can read body language. You can see people are tuning out. You can watch Dan roll his eyes or give me the wrap-up sign as I go too long on a segment.
Is this babe I'm working with really hot? That
all
sort
this
of
stuff.
thing.
All this stuff. Leads to developing, a bond or some sort of a connection with the client. So again, that's why I was kind of thinking going back to video, and I don't mean going back to video per se, as I mean going back to the face-to-face that we've pretty much all completely lost out on since we've stopped going into studios. Why not try something totally different and see if we can bring it back? As bandwidth becomes more pervasive, cheaper, faster, more reliable, it might be something we can all start exploring more and more. Okay. That's all. Just proposing an idea.
Works for me.
Yep.
I've tried it. Anyway, okay, we've got lots more coming up tonight. There is a huge crowd watching this show tonight. We love it. Make sure you're in the chat room. If you're watching the show and you don't know how to get in the chat room, click that thing that says chat now. Right. And then sign into the chat room and join us, because that's where all the fun is.
You have to be watching it at EWABS.com. So if you're not watching it on our webpage, go there and click on the button. We're working on a tablet solution. We don't have a solution yet that works great on the iPad for watching and chatting. That's a challenge. We'll figure that out eventually.
Right. Because I think more people are busy chatting than actually watching the show.
That's what happens.
But anyway, as long as we all get together, we're happy. All right, we've got more coming up. Harlan Hogan in just a little bit. I've got my tip of the week, and that should lead to an interesting conversation as well. So don't go anywhere. Stay where you are. We'll be right back here on East West Audio Body Shop.
So what else are you planning on doing tonight? I thought so. Now back to East West Audio Body Shop with Dan and George.
Yeah, there's a lot of you out there that apparently do something else on Monday night. It's bowling night, or it's some people have stand-up groups. Well, a stand-up group's supposed to be like 10 minutes long, but you guys, these things go off into 2-3 hours. It's pretty amazing.
Kind of like our show.
That's right. Anyhow. Which has happened. Hey, we tried to cut it back to an hour. Didn't happen.
Didn't stick. What can you tell? What can I say?
Yes. Studio Suit. It says that I can talk about Studio Suit now. Anyway, so Studio Suit. It's in my studio. It should be in your studio. It's in a lot of other people's studios, and all people do is rave about it because it takes a very lively room, especially a closet, and makes it sweet. It makes it's as dead as a doornail in there, but you can still live and breathe while you're inside it. But it just seems to absorb across the spectrum, and it makes your room. It solves the number one problem when I'm working with people in their home studios, and we're going to change the name on that in a second. It'll be the last time you hear me say that.
Marking your words.
Absolutely. Now keep me to it. So it's something that you can put into your booth and will solve a good many of the acoustical problems that we deal with. You don't need bass traps. It just makes a booth sound like you're in a room that has absolutely no end. There's no echo. It just goes off and whoosh, it's gone. And the people that have bought it just love it. So if you want to check out Studio Suit and see some of the testimonials and see several demonstrations, along with a pretty wild demonstration we did last year in Irvine of me building a booth, go over to vostudiosuit.com. voiceoveresstudio.com and check it out.
I'm answering Devox's question in the chat room. How big can it get? Well, it's 8x5 pieces. So add them together and you can make it as big as you want.
And you can make a sukkah out of it too. It serves double purpose, but only once a year for 8 days. Anyway, okay. Let's see here.
Tip of the week.
What tip of the week? We have a tip of the week. We do. All right. Now, when I was at WovoCon, somebody brought up the idea that perhaps we need to rename home studios. So I thought about it, and here's my thoughts on that. You know, I think it's time we changed the name of what we call our home voiceover studios. Home studios seem to mean something different to talent seekers that perhaps it shouldn't. To ease their fear and give people more confidence in what you offer, let's now refer to our precious home studios as personal voiceover studios. In order to raise our status as true professionals, from a public relations point of view, it makes sense. Our home is our home. Our office or studio is another thing. But as we say week after week here, no one needs to see how the sausage is made. They just want to hear the sizzle, smell the aroma, and taste what they've been anticipating. Clearly, having a studio at home has its pros and cons. The pros? Flexibility with your schedule. If you own your house, it's a partial tax write-off. You are your own boss. No one's looking over your shoulder. During weekdays, it's pretty quiet. Your favorite food is right there when you need it. And when you need some love, it's close at hand, too. The cons? It's not the ideal acoustical environment. The attraction of what we love doing professionally can distract from what's really important. Garbage day and landscaping is a challenge. Depending on your family size, after school ends, all hope of having that quiet space you need, gone. All of these factors can be controlled somewhat. You can get a soundproof booth, which can help, at great expense. You lay down the law about noise. You learn infinite patience. Serenity now! So while technology allows us to do what we do in the confines of our castles, no one need know where you're recording. If you're doing a Skype session or other video communications, do it from your booth. The only thing that matters is how does your audio sound? So on your websites, pay-to-play profiles, and business cards, next time you print them, you have a PPVOS, a personal, professional VO studio. Even I'm impressed with that. And that's my tip of the week. Wow. Nice little echo at the end there.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I think that's time that and I've mentioned this to a couple of people, and I go, you're right. A home studio, it seems to connote socks hanging on the microphone. It seems to connote noise. And I think, excuse me, where's my cough button? I think when you tell people you have a home studio, and trust me, I'm changing that on all my websites, they're like, oh, it's somebody in their home. It seems to be a negative connotation. So if they don't know that, because they only hear, they don't see. If you say, I have a personal professional studio, what are they going to say? It's going to create an entirely different thought in their mind about that. So I now say, let's change the entire nomenclature and say it's now a personal professional voiceover studio.
So I hope you started snatching up those domains, man.
I think somebody already bought them up. I know somebody who's really good at that.
Good.
Somebody who bought up TeslaDealer.com like 5-6 years ago.
Right. So you're going to be the personal voiceover studio master?
Yes, I think I'm actually going to have to change the name.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah, well, I think we'll keep Home Studio Master because, my clientele isn't the people who are hiring people. My clientele is you guys. Right. So it's a home studio. I know it's a home studio.
Right.
I need to see what it looks like. I need to see how how you're set up in there. And, and remember there was somebody that sent us one they were in their bathroom.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
It's not a smart idea. But so change on your websites, on your business cards, and here's an interesting one. Here are two business cards. I just happen to have these. Here's one from our good friend Larry Davis. And here's one from a guy locally, Chris Nichter. Isn't that interesting?
That looks like a free Vistaprint backdrop card.
Yeah, I think it is. It
yeah.
is. So he has the same card as Larry Davis.
Not bad.
Yes. So when you print up your new cards, you now have a personal, professional voiceover studio. What do you think?
I like the idea of reframing it too. I don't know personal studio, classically we've called them project studios, at least in the music world.
Right.
But yeah, I do like the idea of losing the word home in the home studio. I've been saying for a while is that your home studio shouldn't sound like a home studio. So it should sound like a professional studio, just it happens to be in your home. So I don't think it's a bad idea at all. From a branding standpoint, just talking about being in your professional studio. I don't know, professional almost is a buzzword that gets overused. How many products these days say that they're professional or pro? And half the time that is just brand speak. If it has to say it's professional, sometimes it isn't. So, maybe something else. But I do like the whole personal voiceover studio, or I like the idea of it for sure.
That's what it is. It's a personal home voiceover studio. Yep. So, but we won't call it home anymore.
Drop the home.
Oops. Drop the home.
We'll drop the home.
Oops.
Personal voiceover studio.
Personal.
I dig
it.
I dig it. I think it's a great idea.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you like that. Let's see. Was there anything else on the agenda? We had a question about. I figure we can just jump into this one really quick.
Yeah.
There was a question about Twisted Wave versus Pro Tools.
Yeah, it was basically, asking how it was actually Catherine that sent this in, not Catherine the producer, but Catherine Harlan, and she had seen a webinar by Jonathan Tilley about using Twisted Wave for editing, and he has like a keyboard shortcut technique he's developed having to do with preloading in certain amounts of silence, 1 second, 2 seconds, whatever,
right.
Little intervals of silence, and then keyboard mapping into the keyboard. He really came up with an interesting kind of workflow. Can you do the same thing with Pro Tools? Someone out there who's a Pro Tools whiz, who edits and works in Pro Tools all day, they probably have come up with some solution for doing this with keyboard shortcuts. I don't know what it is, to be honest. I don't use Pro Tools, whether it's Express or the full version. I have Express. I just don't use it for editing day to day. I use Twisted Wave, and that's what's cool about Twisted Wave is there's so many customizations where you can create keyboard shortcuts. Dada. Hey, guess who it is?
Oh, it must be.
Is it Ella?
It's the Twisted Wave user.
Did Daddy forget to turn on his on the air sign? I think so. Beep, I forgot to turn on the switch.
Beep,
See, I have my on the air switch now, and I forgot to turn it on. Now it is on.
Yes.
Hi, Ella. Bye, Ella.
When the light goes on.
No. She knows. That's why she came blasting in here. She didn't see the light on.
Oh, okay.
She's trained, but I forgot to turn the switch on. Anyway, summarizing. Yeah. The Twisted Wave's keyboard shortcuts are totally customizable. You can come up with all sorts of really cool little tweaks. You can use scripting in the Mac operating. There's all kinds of fun things you can do to make Twisted Wave more powerful, more customized to your workflow. So if you're on the fence and you're already a Mac user, gosh, give it a try, man. You'd be nuts to not at least give it a 30-day demo and try it out. We really love it.
Yeah, I have found it so much easier to edit with. And, it's like coming up with all these shortcuts. Yes, Control-C, Control-V. You want to create a space, you just create it and boom, 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 boom.
And with Twisted Wave, you can get rid of the control. just have to be C and V.
C.
Whatever it is, make sure it's something you can learn and do it quickly. But I love the customizable. I might even be teaching Bill Ratner how to use Twisted Wave on Wednesday. Oh. I've already showed him how to use it, but he may be making the switch on Wednesday, which is a milestone. This man has been using Pro Tools for a long time, and he's really fast on it.
Absolutely.
So if I can make him as fast with Twisted Wave, I'll have done my duty.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for chit-chat for another few minutes. Harlan Hogan's coming up in just a little bit. He's got some new product coming up at Voiceover Essentials. So he gets a long commercial today, but we'll have fun with him anyway. And then Dave McRell from CEntrance Electronics is going to be joining him and us to talk about MixerFace. And if you've got questions for Harlan or for us or anything, we'd like to answer your questions on the show. I mean, we started doing the show answering your questions, and I don't know, you guys just aren't asking a whole lot of questions anymore. Have we answered all of them?
Maybe we've answered too many questions.
Maybe that's what it is. Anyway, we'll be right back here in East West Audio Body Shop with Harlan Hogan, so don't go away. We'll be right back.
VO Studio Tech. Recording made simple.
Hi, I'm Peter McHugh.
This is Jim Tasker from Los Angeles, California.
Hi, this is Bill Ratner in Los Angeles.
Hi, this is Scott Rummel here in Yorba Linda, California.
Hi, my name is Rick Wasserman.
Hi, this is Tom Kane.
Hi, my name is Vanessa Marshall.
Hi, my name is Zurich.
Hi, I'm Mary McKittrick.
Randy Thomas chiming in.
Hi, this is Joe Szymanski.
Hey, this is Rick Robles.
Hi, my name is John Patrick Armstrong.
I was turned on to George by none other than Don LaFontaine, who always swore by his help.
George is absolutely awesome.
ISDN, Source Connect, Phone Patch, FTP, you name it, George has set it up.
It's really the best thing I've ever done for myself. I feel free, safe, fearless, like anything is possible in here.
Unless you like to look for opportunities to waste time, call George.
And he did all of that, long distance over the phone and the internet.
I'm very happy with George, and I cherish him.
Thanks, George. You make it easy.
Now back to EWABS with Dan and George.
No, it's George and Dan.
No, it's not. It's Dan and George.
George and Dan.
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 George and Dan.
Dan and George.
George and Dan.
Dan and George.
George and Dan. Dan and George.
And we're back. It's quite a crowd in here tonight. And let's welcome one of our favorite people, somebody who has supported this show from the earliest days of it, back in the Middle Ages. We used to, just pound on a rock. Harlan Hogan, welcome back to EWABS.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you. Happy 4th. Happy 4th.
Yeah, we're on our
5th on the 4th.
That's right.
Yeah. How about that? 4 years. That's cool.
No, 3 years.
Well, we finished 3. We're on our 4th year now.
We're well into our 4th year.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
This is our 143rd episode. So
at base 10? Or
right.
Anyway, hi. Thanks for having me back.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight. I've always wondered. You've got this great online store of voiceover stuff. How did you start Voiceover Essentials? What was the genesis of this particular venture of yours?
It actually was right about the time of the original Genesis concept, but there was this lack of electricity. Which was, you know what? It is dumb luck.
Do tell.
But dumb luck, and then realizing, there's something missing here. What happened was, I do voiceovers. What I do. I did try selling computers when I was a young man, badly, the worst on earth. So I never considered myself a marketer or a salesman other than selling my voice stuff. When I was on the road a lot, and because I do a lot of political stuff, got tired of making pillow forts to record in hotel rooms. So I came up with the original Porta booth, which was not an original idea. In World War II, they did boxes with blankets in them and stuff. But Jeff Fisher, who's a good friend of mine, mentioned a friend of his, Douglas Spotted Eagle, who had made a foam core 16-inch cube, put some acoustic foam inside, put the mic there, and since it was a condenser mic and a cardioid pattern, it was tricked into thinking it was a room. And I thought, that's a great idea. So then I was fiddling around with fold-up cartons and all kinds of stuff. Figured it out. Discovered that the Whitmore, not the Whittam cube, the Whitmore cube that you could buy at Target was just about right. It was enough of a diaphragm because it's cardboard, a little bit of cloth on it, so the sound would get dispersed. Wrote up an article, put it on the internet, and I kept getting these emails over and over again, like, well, where can I buy one? So I need to buy one. You got to buy foam, and I taught people how to cut foam and how to put it together. And somewhere along the line, Warren King, who does my web stuff, said, you know, Harlan, maybe you're being stupid. What do you mean? People want to buy with you. Why don't you make some? Oh, well, I told them how to. Okay, because, I wasn't thinking that there are lots of people who don't want to cut foam and don't want to put it together. So I made 10, and they sold out like in a day. So even in the depths of my ignorance, I thought, might be something. The next batch, I charged way more than the first batch because I didn't want to get too busy with it because to me it was like a distraction. Made some more. Anyway, by the time that was over, I'd made 1,500 of them. Believe it or not.
Wow.
And so then Warren and I said, maybe, nobody's really zeroing in on voiceover people. We're like, when you go to, and all the stores are great. You go to Sweetwater or you go to B&H or BSW, they're wonderful, but there's 350 microphones. And they all say, sounds great on vocals and piano and drum. And you're like, well, what's good, right? Gee, this one's 400, this is 4,000. So I got it in my bean. We'd start a store and have a limited number of things and aim it as much as possible at voiceover people with a couple of choices of things that either I or people I trust know are good. And that was it. And it's been frustrating sometimes because it's retail, but I've had so much fun. I've met so many people, and nobody's more surprised by the store than I am. So even at my advanced age, I've managed to learn a little bit about online retailing. That's it. I mean, an accident, total accident. The only good thing was that I at least went, maybe.
Yeah. Studio Suit was the same way. Complete accident. Just like, hey, this stuff works. And it's like, go roll with it. Put your logo on it. It's out the door. So what other type of stuff when did you start introducing some other items into the store? And,
that was funny. So we thought, I said, okay, well, you know what? We could put up, the book I wrote, and a book I wrote with Jeff Fisher on home studios, and Elaine Clark's book. And because we found that we could do an Amazon store, which is great because if you don't want to put things into inventory, you can just sell them as an affiliate. And you make like 6% on a good day. It's not much, but you don't have to stock anything either. So I put those up. And then I had these VO caps from when my first book came out. I could sell some of those. And I had put out a mechanical stopwatch a few years before, and I had to buy 1,000 of them. And I'd given away about 800, but I had a couple hundred sitting around. I said, why don't we put that up? And, we're kind of guessing what we should charge. I said, tell you what, nobody's going to buy them because it says Harlan Hogan voiceovers on it. I'm just putting it up because it'll put something in the store. And a good German, like hand-hard wind-up stopwatch is at least $150. So I said, I'll put it up and I'll do the old trick, the suggested price. I said, let's put them up for $79. That's a lot. But people who have one of my stopwatches will say, Harlan gave me a $79 value. We sold those out, and I had to order another 500 recently.
Wow.
You know who buys them? This is sort of frightening. Voiceover people buy them. Some people who want to give them as a gift. They are nice. I mean, they're stainless steel. They run well. I started getting orders from specific doctors. I know. And I still regularly get them. So finally, one day, I picked up the phone and called this lady and said, hi, I'm Harlan Hogan. And she said, that name sounds familiar. I said, well, you have my stopwatch. Oh, yeah. I said, thank you. She bought like 4. I said, I really appreciate you buying watches. I'm just curious. I do voiceovers for a living, and those were a giveaway. And, I wondered what that was about. Why do you buy them? I work with autistic children, and we have certain things that we do with them that they have to time. And all the other things I found out there were electronic or too complicated. But yours times 60 seconds. Just like I thought. So there's people out there going, in fact, actually, quick story. I do magic, as you guys probably know, or I love magic as a hobby. And a friend of mine, Gabe Fahori, was in New York with a very well-known magician. And he was talking about stuff, and he said, my friend Harlan does voiceovers or something. And the guy said, Harlan Hogan? He said, well, yeah, do you know him from the magic group, something? No, I had his stopwatch. He had bought the stopwatch for some specific magic trick he was doing because it timed 60 seconds. So when I say it was dumb luck, it's dumb luck.
Fascinating. Well, you've got, you were talking about your book. You've got a new edition to that coming out?
I do.
Tell us about it.
I brought VO, VO was the title, just like the liquor. And I wanted to write down what was happening, mainly in the commercial recording area, but what was happening when I got into it. And another dumb luck thing, at the time I did, and we still had networks, and you could do a commercial. If you got in with a small group of people and you got a little lucky and you worked hard, you could have 12 spots on the air. They were paying you every time they ran. And you had recorded Strong Enough for a Man like 3 years before that. It was a wonderful golden age. And the characters that I met and the engineers that I met and just the fun of this small band of people, the voice people and the singers. And you saw each other and you ran across and tried to make sure you weren't have a session over at Universal because you had to get across the Michigan Avenue Bridge and it might be up. And how would I get there? And it was a crazy time. So I wanted to write this down because nobody else had done it. It's one of those things, somebody ought to write all those stories down. Well, I guess I'm it because nobody else is doing it. So I wrote that, had a couple of publishers interested, Allworth Press really liked it and said, here's the thing. We like the book, we like your style, we like your stories. It's, an insider look at a world nobody knows much about. But we really need you to do some how-to because as it stands, it's a memoir. And though, she said, Harlan, I don't mean to insult you. I know you're well known within your business, but outside your business, no. And unless you're a celebrity, you're not publishing a memoir. So could you do some how-to, but we'll do it as sidebars so it doesn't ruin the story. Somebody can come back and look at those for reference. And I said, okay, I want to get it published. I just want to, you know how that is. Put it out. That's 12 years ago. It's been remarkably well received. The stories are fun. The how-to stuff was fun. And so in there, I actually did briefly mention the idea of a personal studio with the idea that maybe we'd be recording auditions at some point, not really finished work. And a lot of people laughed at that and thought I was, completely insane. But as it turns out, it was right. And so this year, the publisher called me up and said, hey, it's 12 years, and we'd like you to do a second edition. I said, take two. No, we have to call it a second edition. I said, no, it's take two. It's VO. Shut up. Take the contract. So my deal was, I said, listen, when I wrote it, I was writing about all these people, some of whom were gone now already, who were funny and talented, and we had a world, a group of comrades in arms that ran from studio to studio, and that will never happen again. It's over. I mean, the whole thing is radically changed. And I realized what I wrote in many ways, and again, dumb luck, I wasn't doing it on purpose, is a little time capsule of what it was like when those conditions all existed. And I'm not changing the stories. I have some I left out of the original book I'd like to put in. The sidebars I have to rewrite because look at all the things that changed and didn't exist then.
Really?
And they said, fine, go for it. So that's what I've done. And I'm real proud of it. I think it's fun. I've added some things I couldn't put in the first one because of room. Comes out July 1st. Amazon already has back orders, and I know there's at least one pre-order.
Yeah, right, congratulations.
Well, yeah, fine. I ordered it.
Yeah, make that too.
Actually, we got a question that came in from JS.
Yeah.
Do you want to jump to a couple questions? Or
yeah,
Dan?
let's throw that in. We do want to get Dave in here too, because he's waiting around patiently to talk about something. But let's.
Come on.
But J.S. Gilbert, when he asks a question,
we listen.
People listen. That's right. He says, what does he think about all of the crowdsourcing of auditions, whereas 60 or 70 or 80 talent agents may get the same script for a single job, thus 2,000 or more voice talents may audition for the same project, often a few $100s for the gig.
You want to take that one, Dan?
I know what I think.
I know what
and it's probably the same as what you think.
Is that a rhetorical question?
I don't know if it's a rhetorical. With JS, you never know. He says, "What do you think about it?" I'm sure. Do you want me to just you want to just open your mouth and I'll just say what you're going to say, or? Oh, okay. It sucks.
There you go. Very nicely done. No, that's a terrible scenario. But it does speak to something. I could go on for this for hours, so I'll make it real short. It does speak to something very important. There's a difference between auditioning and a big difference between getting a job and building a business. And the only way you're going to beat this thing is to build your business, which most of the time means going out and finding work. I think the Voice123 and Voices.com are fine. It's fine. Add that to your arsenal. But don't think you're building a business with that, because you're not. Because as he's pointing out, the odds of you even getting heard, you can't even honestly say, oh, gee, I didn't get that. You probably were never heard.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
You know? So I've always said this, I've said it for years, there's more work down the block here than there is on those sites. There's lots of work, but you got to go out and get it. And most people don't want to do it. They want an agent to get it for them. They want the group rope site to get it for them. And that was that way when I started too. I mean, we didn't have those, but it still was hard to get an agent. You had to beat the bushes, call people up, find the favor, somebody you knew that worked at an ad agency or whatever, and you built a long-term business.
Yeah.
Well,
you've got a couple of new products that are going to be in at Voiceover Essentials, but let's talk about the MixerFace right now and get Dave McRell in here right now so we can get to that. And then we'll, after the break, we'll do our normal Harlan spot, but you get to do it.
Oh, okay.
Sounds fair enough.
We didn't discuss rate. We didn't discuss rate on this. I got to call my agent.
All right.
Wait a minute. David, how many prototypes of MixerFace are there?
Right now, we technically only have 3 plus the one on my workbench, so I guess 4. But I've got one right here, right now, that you're listening to at this very moment. So
let's properly introduce David. David,
yes.
What is your part at CEntrance? How long have you been there, and what do you do over there?
I've actually been here for about 7 years now, and I work as a development engineer. So my hat is an engineering hat, but it's actually more technical in the sense that it's a electrical engineering hat. So I work with Michael quite a bit and doing all the ins and outs of the development stage from concept to production.
What was the original concept with MixerFace? What brought the idea that, we got to make one of these?
Yeah, right.
Well, honestly, I mean, if you go back far enough, it was mic board. And just because that was a hole that everybody needed, especially with Harlan's idea of really getting that home studio going,
personal studio.
Thank you very much. I do know that very early on, people were still saying, you know what, as portable as it is with my laptop, can you put a battery in here to make it even more portable? And then obviously, once the iPhone started coming out, people are like, hey, can you get this even more portable than my laptop? Because the iPhone is quite capable. And that's where we really saw the need for MixerFace. And in a sense, we saw it very early on, but at the time with my port, we had to do with what we got. And the technology for that kind of portable solution like MixerFace now didn't exist back then, but as a concept, we had it very early on in our heads that, especially, Michael's the architect behind all that, and he had it very early on, but it's a work in progress, and it's actually becoming a reality now.
Was Michael's background in music?
Michael's background, it's actually quite varied. He's an engineer as well, but he also is Not as much now, but I know that he's quite an avid bass player, and he's done quite a few gigging. So a lot of his, it doesn't apply to the voiceover world, but Michael still has that guitar input because he likes to plug in his bass.
Yeah. If you're wondering, we're talking about Michael Goodman, who's the president at CEntrance. Very interesting guy. So Harlan, what do you have there? Now you've got one with you, and your guys are actually talking on one, or what?
I'm not. David is, but I keep playing with this because it's so cool.
It just feels nice.
Actually, I was talking to Michael. He's in Tokyo, right? Yeah, he's in Japan, and I said, I've been recording with it, playing around with it. It's the classic prototype. There's no labels, so I'm screwing it up, trying to figure out. Now that switch goes over there. No, it doesn't. It comes here. Okay, and it turns white. Yeah. But I said, it really sounds great, and he said, "Really, you hear what we've done it even better than what you've got in the prototype." So, and a quick little story on Michael, who I met exactly how, but basically because of the mic port, and I think at that point, I don't think he knew much about voiceover guys or even thought about us being any kind of market, which is true for a lot of the companies, which is good for me, I guess. Like, those people, what are they going to buy for their home studios?
Yeah, exactly. Good for me. Good for me too, by the way.
Yeah. But we got acquainted, and somewhere along the line there, and I had by then developed the Portabooth Pro, and a guy wanted to be a rep for me, and so the only person I knew that knew anything about this was Michael. So I called him. I said, "We have breakfast, and the guy, he wants to be my rep, but then he wants to be a distributor, and I don't know the difference and everything." And Michael Goodman, who I adore, and we've become very good friends, wrote me a 3-page, single-spaced explanation of the difference between a distie, between a distributor and a representative. Kind of like you, Dan and I have talked a lot where I'd say, okay, map price, here's what it means. Like, I didn't know what it meant either a few years ago. And I thought, I love this guy. I mean, who takes the time to do that? He's terrific. I mean, he's just great. So when I saw this before there were any guts in it originally over breakfast, that's what we do, right? Right, David? And
yep.
What would you want as a voiceover guy? I know he talked to Bo Weaver and some other people too, and I like that, that he actually asked what we're looking for, because he knows the music end of it. And I know when you started, there was not the high Z input, right?
Correct.
And that added, and then the limiter, which I was testing 2 days ago, nastily. I mean, like screaming into it, and it's a really nice limiter. And actually, we were talking before, so David, you might say to the voiceover people why we might want a limiter, why that's a good thing for us.
It's CYA. I mean, it's easy. We designed it to be transparent so that it'll kick in only at the very last moment, and when it does kick in, it kicks in very well. So you're not going to clip. It'll take
it's very fast.
A lot of headroom before you really get to actually clipping. So there's applications outside of that, but really it applies to voiceover well, because you're not going to really use it and except for those rare moments. And when it's in, it's transparent, and when you use it, you're going to be grateful for it.
It's going to make it a lot easier for the home voiceover recording, or the person in the professional personal voiceover studio who is self-engineering, or when you're on the road and you're in a less than ideal situation, and you just want to turn up the gain, try to get it right, and then you read the script and you realize you clipped, and man, you just want to get it right, and you're running out of time, and that little limiter is really something that sets it apart from pretty much everything else out there. And it doesn't sound like a big deal. What's a limiter? But to design it so that it doesn't ruin your sound, kick in at the wrong time, degrade the audio quality, isn't too overly complex, have too many controls, but do all this stuff really intelligent. There's a lot going on in there with that. So when they decided to add the limiter in, because it was something that was decided to be added in later, right? It had already been in prototype. You guys had a working version, and then you went back and added the limiter. Isn't that what happened?
Yeah, we had to squeeze it in, but we figured it out. And thanks to Michael's hard work, we got it in even before the NAB show, so we could actually demo it. So that was huge. And we like to make stuff like that so you can kind of set it and forget it, because it's transparent enough, and you don't have to worry about it.
Voiceover engineering is an interesting. When you're self-engineering, I always say, second you hit record, you've turned off the engineering part of the brain, and now you're in the acting part of the brain. So whatever happens from the point where you start the script and you end the script, it's out of your hands. You can't engineer it. You can't ride your own levels. So no matter how hard you try, it's one of the hardest things that voice actors do is figure out how to get the levels right. And if you're just doing even keel, commercial copy, it's the same all the way through corporate narrative, whatever, no problem. But if you're doing audio, anything with drama, not say the word acting, anything that's dramatic or character based, or if you're doing video games, or gosh, so many people are doing video game auditions these days. Those are so hard to record. This thing's going to make all that stuff easier, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and yeah. I'm coming to kill you. Yeah, you got to have a limiter for that. That's gonna be. Of course, I can't imagine anybody acting and like, I got to look at the VU meter. I got to make sure I'm not being too loud. I mean, set it and forget it. I mean, that's the only way to go with this kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, we try to. Yeah. So this developed. Hold it up on camera again. Try to hold it still, because everybody was saying earlier when Harlan held up his, just how physically small it is. I think people were confused or surprised how small it is. Actually,
let me reach an iPod Touch and put it on top for comparison.
Yeah.
That'll help.
Yeah.
Or a watermelon.
And you're actually hearing him through it right now, David. You're actually using it to talk to us.
That's right.
Okay.
Here's the iPod Touch just for reference, and I'm just going to put it right on top, and that's it. So you've got a microphone connection over here by my thumb, and then over here is your USB connection. Right now, obviously, I'm using the PC and then my headphone jack here. But we'd actually designed it, and the length of this is the same as your iPhone 5 generation, which this is an iPod 5G as well. And we got the rubber bands. You can stick it on there so it stays put. So especially if you're on the road, it's very ultra portable.
Do we think it? I mean, we know it's. I guess it's class compliant USB, so it'll work with Windows. It'll work with Mac. It'll work with iOS. Anybody experimenting with it yet on an Android phone yet?
Yes. One of our other products is kind of based on this platform, and there are a lot of people. It's granted, it's a playback only product, but there's the tricky part is you're gonna have to use the, at least to my knowledge right now, you're gonna have to use the audio. Let me get
USB
the name right.
Audio Recorder Pro, I think is what it's
exactly.
called.
And their website is kind of detailed, but if you go through it, there's a list of phones that they know that they support. The other thing is that's really important that you gotta look for in your phone specs, especially if you're trying to get a new Android phone. You're like, will this work with MixerFace?
Yeah.
Look to see if it says it's got USB host capability.
Okay.
If it doesn't have that, you're
not gonna
forget it. Yeah, that's the problem with Android. They don't have that nice walled garden that Apple has, so it's going to be hit or miss in that regard. But there are a lot of phones out there, and more phones are supporting USB host. Not all, but more and more.
I think it's great. The battery idea was something I thought about a long time ago. I mean, when the MicPort Pro came out, Bo did a video or a blog post, which I then reblogged on my blog and said, read this because I didn't type it. Bo did. Believe what he says. But he showed his MicPort with a battery pack rigged up to it and everything. And this was definitely something that we've been anticipating for a long time. One more step closer to the ultimate portable device to use with an iPhone or an iPad. So, so it's got gain for 2 microphones. It's got a headphone volume. What else does it have?
Got your 48V for both input channels, and you got a simple presence and peak LED right here on the front. That's hardware based, so it's instantaneous. On the back, your controls, you've got your headphone volume, and then you've got a mix control for mixing between your microphone feed and whatever's coming back from your computer or iDevice. And then you've got a switch here for monitoring, which we really like this, thanks to Harlan. You got one position is just stereo, which probably won't really apply to most, but in the middle position, you've got channel 1 is in mono, so center, and then channel 2, like your IFB feed or like an ISDN line from your producer, comes in your right ear. And then if you're really just a mono guy, you got that last switch position that'll put both channels mono while you're monitoring. And all the while, you still have your mix control for hearing whatever's coming from your computer if you need it.
So cool, man. And then, and there's a little jack there. There's a power jack. That's obviously the charging device, right?
Yes.
And then there's a jack just to the side of that. Is that another USB port?
This USB port is for your iDevices. So your iPhones, your iPod Touch, any iOS device, you'll be able to record with.
Oh, that's cool. So no proprietary cable. You just use the Lightning cable or the 30-pin cable you already have and just plug it in there.
Yeah, that's what we're working on, is to jump through the hurdles that Apple certification
That is no joke. That is no joke. That is not easy.
That is correct.
Don't anybody think that's simple.
Yeah, it's actually been our hardest hurdle, but we're working through it right now, and it's
fantastic.
We're moving forward on that. So,
yeah,
and obviously this jack is your standard, PC port.
Right. Can you plug it into the wall at all, or does it completely will run off the iOS system?
Right now, what I'm holding in my hand is running completely off of its own battery. So if you were to plug in this iPod Touch, the iPod Touch would run off its own battery, and then MixerFace would run off of its own battery. And then if you plugged in that charging port, it'll charge both devices simultaneously.
Cool.
Makes sense?
Wow, it certainly does. Wow.
So what? Sorry, Dan. Go ahead.
Yeah, yes, and it's 24-bit and it goes up to 192K.
The PC port goes up to 192K. Apple still is going to limit us to 96K. Now they can change that in the future.
Wow. Why? It's like
that's a debate we can have another time. But
yeah, really,
nobody in VO needs to record anything above 96K.
Yeah,
yeah, really.
Man, I'm excited about it. So yeah, you guys, this thing obviously is designed to be portable, but this really could be like your only interface. In regards to just pure quality.
Really. Yep.
Quality-wise, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We've all been kind of pushing the whole all-in-one device lately anyway. Dan and I like the Scarlett 2i2. Just simplifying, getting rid of the external gear, the signal chain, anything creating noise. Simplify it, and we've been
especially an external preamp and stuff like that. You got to have an Avalon. No, you don't.
I don't think
you guys work. You guys work really hard in creating these micro-sized preamps that are just as good, and it makes any microphone sound good. The fact of the matter is it's supposed to be very transparent, and what some of these bigger preamps do is they're not quite as transparent as that. If you're a jazz musician, I think that's pretty important. But for voiceover, clean and dry is what you really want, and that's what that type of device does. Now, how soon is this one going to be available for the regular retail market so Harlan can hawk it out of his store?
We're working very hard to be shipping. I want to be realistic. July is going to be the earliest. Probably August is when we're going to be shipping units.
Okay, good,
excellent.
It's best to release it when it's fully baked.
Yes,
that's all I can say. Make sure it's fully vetted, tested, baked, and nobody wants a beta product. So I think it's okay to make people wait.
Yeah. Well, Dave, thanks for joining us and telling us about MixerFace, because I can't wait till I get mine, and I know JS can't wait till he gets his 3.
Oh, there's a couple. There's one question in the chat room actually
about that. Yes, please.
JS Gilbert, am I going to get one before June 2nd? He wants to know. That's all he cares about. No, I guess we answered that question. Not even if you did the Indiegogo campaign, you'll be getting yours. Are you going to get yours a little earlier, or how's that work? You guys can deliver to all the Indiegogo folk first, and then roll it out to the retailers.
The folk that have helped out with this, they get theirs first.
Awesome.
That's how it works. So
thanks, JS. JS says he's going to send me one, so we'll be reviewing it on the show for sure.
Right.
Okay. And also, is the battery user replaceable? JS asks.
Good question. Right now it is not, but it's going to last you on a single charge. Depending on your 48V usage, you're going to get roughly 7 hours between charges with it. So
how about longevity, like over the course of years, 5 years, 6 years? Can you predict?
That I can't predict exactly, but I know we've set it up so that we're not burning the battery just to get it to charge, which is important for longevity. And we're not discharging it. This isn't super high powered. Even with obviously 48V always uses a lot of power, but it's not like we're welding with it. So the battery we expect to last at least a year, probably more than that, 2 years.
Yeah, and it's got a badass headphone amp, I hope.
Yes.
It can drive some serious volume to your headphones, right?
Yes.
That's a big complaint, man. I'll tell you how many people. I got my Scarlett 2i2 and they don't get loud enough. First of all, I'm like, what the hell did you do to your hearing over the last 30 years?
Yeah, really.
Secondly, what headphones are you using? Because you're not using Harlan's cans, because those suckers get loud. No problem. And, so as long as it's got a good hot headphone amp, people are going to love that.
Yeah, it is.
Cool, man.
All right. Well, we've got lots more coming up. Dave, thanks for being with us. We're glad to see this thing in the flesh, and you in the flesh too. So we can get this thing and everybody can try it and see what a marvelous product it is. And we'll have you on again when you guys come up with something else.
Sure. Thank you, George. Dan, this is great. Thank you very much. Harlan, same to you as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
All right. Thank you. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break here. We'll be back with Harlan, who has a couple of new things coming out of Voiceover Essentials. And you can ask him a few more questions because he always has an answer for you. So we'll be right back here in East West Audio Body Shop.
VoiceOver Extra, the voiceover industry's online news, education, and resource center 24/7. Hundreds, probably thousands of free how-to articles for voiceover success, ranging from home studio to voice acting to business. A free voiceover industry directory, calendar of industry events, resource links, a store, and much more. Bi-monthly webinars on all topics of voiceover, free subscriptions to newsletters, reports, announcements, daily news, and features at voiceoverextra.com.
Now back to EWABS. Thank Dan and George's wives. For what? You have no idea. Now, here's Dan and George.
All right, we're back here in East West Audio Body Shop. And Harlan, normally this is when I tune in and go, if you want the best stuff in voiceover, you only got to go one place. But since we have you here live tonight, you get to hawk the stuff yourself and tell us what a great place you've got over at Voiceover Essentials.
Before we talk about my stuff on the MixerFace, here's what I thought about this today, and I think the crowdsourcing or Kickstart thing that Michael did was brilliant and great, and so those folks are going to get those first. I have an order in for some MixerFaces. I think they're going to go really fast. If you remember, about a year ago when they ran out of MicPort Pros for about 3 months. And people were selling them for $300 and $400 on eBay because people who wanted them. Yeah. I kept thinking, God, I should have kept mine, and it was like a stock, But what I'm just going to announce tonight, because I honestly made this up today, but I think it's thought. So people who watch the show or people who buy stuff from me, if you want to, because it's too soon to take pre-orders, and honestly, I don't like pre-orders in general because it's accounting, and invariably, I did it on the Porta Booth Pro, and it was fine, but there were, you got 100 people who pre-ordered. You're going to have 5 or 6 who, for whatever reason, don't have the money. I actually had one person die. Then his widow wrote me, and I said, oh, my God.
I know.
A lot of bookkeeping.
Yeah.
And I kept the money anyway from her, but still, and actually with Amazon, you cannot do it more than 30 days. But what I'm offering to you, if anybody wants to, if you want to email Terry at Voiceover Essentials, it's terry.lee at Voiceover Essentials. I'm going to get a yellow pad of paper. I know we have 100 of them earmarked for us, and we'll write your name and email down. And when they're getting closer, we'll let you know that we've got one with your name on it if you want it. If you don't want it, there's no harm done. But at least that way people are in a queue to get them. So
cool.
If you want them. Yeah.
So we can get a little bit of advanced, we can get our guys closer in line. We can butt in line a little bit. Are you EWABS fans?
Yeah, I think what probably will happen is July or whenever we see that, okay, they're in the retail business and the manufacturing China business, when they're on the water, you got about 3 weeks till they get Long Beach, and then they're coming.
Yeah.
So at that point, we might say, hey, you want to pre-order, fine. So no obligation particularly, but, somebody listening, watching says, yeah, well, no, I definitely want one. Well, we'll put your name on the list and you're number 5 or number 6 or whatever. I don't know that we're going to get that whole order right away either. You know, I think they will be short. But it's so great. And I was fiddling around with phone patching because that's one of my little bugaboos about talent
Yeah.
All of them saying, I got a phone patch, and you don't have a phone patch. This is not a phone patch. You don't have a phone patch if you can't play the track back. And for the bulk of commercial people, that's probably not that important because you record a whole bunch of tracks on Skype or phone, whatever it is, and you send them all the tracks and they cut it together. If you do political stuff like I do, you have to be able to play it back because they don't want 10 tracks. They want 2.
They want to do their selects during the session. They want to
right during the session
on the
say,
spot.
"Hey, Har, would you go back play 4? Yeah, okay, send us 4 and 7. Thanks, bye." Boom.
Wow.
And if you can't play it back, it's probably the last time you're going to work for them.
Yeah.
I have not played enough with it with the iPad or iPhone. Part of the problem, I'm such an idiot. I wasn't thinking, and so they sent me the Lightning thing. My phone is the 30-pin still.
Ancient.
So that means I have to borrow Leslie's. Nah. But honey, I put Twisted Wave on it for you. Give me my phone. I've got texts coming in. I've got to go to the barn or whatever the hell it is.
I have to borrow my wife's iPad if I want to use iOS, so I get it.
You get it. But I did, just going into my iMac, set it up, and first of all, I love is, the transparency. I bring up Adobe Audition. It says MixerFace, channel 1 and 2. Like, love that. There it is. I think about it. In Skype, it just looks for the first thing it finds, which is channel 1, I discovered.
Right.
So I said, okay, Skype is in channel 1, Harlan's in channel 2. And I called Bill Ballenberg, and I said, how's this sound? Sounds great. What are you on? Well, talk, sing, dance. You can't go wrong. You don't have to do a mix minus because channel 1 is never going to be recorded by channel 2. He's hearing everything I'm doing. I'm thinking this thing, aside from the iOS thing, could be your studio. Who needs a mixing board? You got a mixer.
Can I pick your brain a little bit more?
Sure,
How are you patching playback from your DAW back down the line to Skype? How are you doing that?
I had to go, and I think there's an easier way. I had to go up into Skype preferences and reassign the MixerFace as the playback, but it can be done.
Yeah.
I think, actually, Michael Goodman mentioned to me, he said, you could take the headphone and do a Y cable and bring it over, and I think that's probably the way. Or a Soundflower type thing. But, it worked. I went, hang on, click, played it back.
Yeah. I've been working on software methods to do this. I'm mostly working on Mac, so I have it pretty dialed on Mac. I know you can do this stuff on Windows too, but it's just a matter of a little bit of clever routing and just maybe even using a cable to do the job for you is the easiest thing to do. From out to in, and you're done.
Plug it back in. But cool device.
We can talk about that thing forever, man. We're excited about it. Tell us about what you've got that hit the store 2 weeks ago or a month ago? You hit some new products at the store?
Little things, small things.
Yeah.
Looking always, can I do something that's specifically aimed at voiceover, like the voiceover recording sign? All kinds of signs, but there's only one voiceover recording sign.
There's mine.
There we go. The other thing I'm trying to do is, good, better, best on things so that you've got a reasonable X and X, because that's good marketing, but also I think that's as much as I want to have. I don't want to have 50 pop filters. We have 3, that's enough. So looking at 2 different things. One was decoupling speakers. There's a bunch of different products that do that, and of course you can cut foam and do that. But biggest complaint has always been the price of the things, and since a lot of the voiceover people I know do not have huge monitors, a lot of them use computer speakers, decent ones. They're $49, so they're sort of reticent not to spend the same amount for decoupling devices. But I'm a big fan of it. I wasn't originally. The first time I ever saw the Mopads was with Jeff Fisher, and he said, "You got to buy these," and I said, "No, I don't need those." He said, "Just buy them." And we came home and put them in, and I went, "Oh." Really hear it. I mean, we need, just like I call these a shock mount for your speaker. You need to decouple from the shelf. So these are nice. They're good dense foam. I played around with them for a year, really. And as you guys probably know, you can put your speaker this way. If your speakers are high, that'll angle it down. There's another little wedge that you can use, which will angle it more, or you turn the wedge around. It's like a magic trick. Or you turn the wedge around and it's flat. And if you want to do the reverse, where you've got the speakers down and they're shooting up, you just turn the whole shoot and match around the other way. If you get 4 of these and 4 of the wedges, and if you have small speakers, you can do 8 of them. Good for home theater. I got my home theater speakers on these. If you wanted to with small speakers, you could nicely cut that off, as long as you cut it properly with a serrated knife very carefully. And the best thing is they're less than $30 and shipped, so they're not high. But I thought it would be nice to have an alternative decoupling for your speaker thing. Speaker shock mounts.
Very nice.
It's on air. Ooh. But it does. I just, there's so many of those things where you think, but that's not going to work. And then you hear it and go,
it does.
Sometimes the simplest, cheapest, solutions are really, really effective.
It's amazing. So I've had my 2 Mackeys sitting on notepads now for 10 years, and they're still in great shape. It's a great product. They're going to last for. I think you definitely got really, really heavy speakers. You want to go higher end on it because it'll be denser because it costs more. But if it's normal kind of stuff, something like this, it's just pretty dense.
Yeah.
Good, and the price is right. So that was one thing. Then the other thing is an awful lot of us who use shotguns, 416 specifically, but also the Rhodes. And I use it on a lot of my political because I have to get nasty, and it has a nasty kind of in-your-face sound that, for me anyway, with my voice, it just, it's right there. Long I don't like it, generally speaking, because I think it's a little harsh. But for promo work and political work, if it's nasty, this is a gem. I'll switch to something else that's a little gentler. I couldn't find, when I first got it, a shock mount anywhere. And, of course, I thought about it. Well, yeah, this was a location mic on the end of a fishpole hanging out there. And the one that Sennheiser makes with the grip, you know what I'm talking about? It's got like
of course.
Pistol grip.
Right.
Is $375.
Oh.
I've seen those in studios where they put the pistol grip on the nightstand, and it's like, see, that was for the guy to shoot at the guy's mouth. So at the time when I started using these from time to time, and I do like it on the road. I love this. This in a Porta Booth Pro sounds great, and because it's a shotgun, you lose a lot of that noise in the room. So and they're pretty much bulletproof. The only negative I've ever found is if you carry this in carry-on, they will inspect your bag. I guarantee you, every single time.
Never say you have a shotgun in your bag.
Right. Oh, you don't shotgun? No, but they see a tube that's odd looking with wires, and normal people don't think of microphones like this. I was at O'Hare one day, and the guy pulled it out. What's this? This is a microphone. No, you start singing in the end. I'm thinking it's a $1,200 microphone you were shooting in. You're part of TSA, so I'm going to keep my big mouth shut.
Yeah.
Anyway, at the time, I did find this shock mount on eBay. The thing I liked about it was that, what I call the bulldog clip approach, where you just squeeze it and put the microphone in.
I know that one. That one, the problem with it, right, is it's a little bit too big for the mic, right?
Yeah.
It's too loose.
It'll clamp it, but it's big then also in your way, and it still works.
It's bulky.
It's really bulky. It weighs 6 ounces, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but it's heavy.
Yeah.
It worked. He doesn't make them anymore. The only thing I came away with is I liked that. So when I was doing the VO1 and the VO1A, you can come up with all kinds of shock mounts. I saw it's like a bulldog clip thing.
Yeah.
It's simple. So I can't get this anymore. I have another one that somebody made that has some wide plastic bands, and it's on its last legs. And you can put rubber bands on it, but it looks anyway. Yeah. So I went looking around, and I found this. It weighs 2 ounces, which is unbelievable. If you were doing location sound, boy, you would love this thing on the end of a fishbowl way out.
Absolutely.
2 ounces versus 6. My first concern when I saw it was, it's plastic. It's actually ABS plastic, which is a composite and very, very, very strong. I don't like plastic connectors.
Right.
When I was, developing the Vox Pop Stop, that was one of the, we've got this, it's got a plastic connect. No. But if you can see that or not, if you have brass insert, which this does, see that?
Mm-hmm.
And your control is steel, then the plastic doesn't really become an issue at all. But because I always test products, I've thrown this, I've dropped it on the concrete, and I let Lila the dog, Lila's our 2-year-old, some of you know who she is, have her way with it. She couldn't destroy it.
Mm.
However, because, when you look at it, it's damn strong, but you still have these little slots and everything. I'm here to tell you, if you weigh 165 pounds or more and you stomp on it, you can break it, because I did. So I don't recommend breaking it or stomping on it. I think it's unlikely would happen, but I did it. I actually cracked it in pieces just to see what would happen. What I really do like about it more than anything else is the shock, which is O-rings that you can get, and I did just for tonight, at Ace Hardware.
Ooh.
2, now I live in an area where the Ace Hardware is expensive. 2 for $1.29. So for $2.50, you can completely replace these O-rings, which should last you 10 years anyway, because unless they're out in the sun. But I like that. It's field replaceable, as they say, and holds a 416, nicely. If you are using something any smaller, or if you were going to hang this upside down or something, you have the option, which is really easy, of just taking the O-ring and twisting it on both sides, one on each side. And then you get a much tighter grip. I mean, if I were going to put it on a fishpole, I'd do that just to be careful that it wasn't going to fall off. And like the speaker stands, I found it at a very good price on these. I always have to look. Oh, a really good price. Instead of $375, they're $24.95. It's less than $25.
Wow, fantastic!
Well, the ones I've seen out there have been $70, $90.
Yeah, 60, 70, pretty common. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's a bargain, and I just love the weight. So now you throw this in your bag, and you got 2 ounce, plus your shock mount, plus your MixerFace, headphones.
You're all set.
What more could you want?
That is one lightweight rig.
True.
Well, there's one more thing. What do you put the shock mount on when you travel?
Do I have one over there?
I got a picture of one.
Yeah, let's see. What are you putting yours on? Well, if I'm using the booth, I use this.
Yeah, little stubby stand.
Yeah, the three where you've got an adjustment this way, international and U.S., and then the weight, the removable weight. So on the road, I usually take the weight off because, of course, it's not heavy. If I had a heavy mic, it's kind of like a diver's thing. I leave that weight on.
Yeah.
So that's what it's simple. This comes apart, stick it in your bag. Fun.
Sounds good.
Life is.
Yeah. I've also discovered something about one of your other products, the ABS, the mic boom strap.
Fiddling with that in some nasty way. What are you doing?
Well, I have a torn rotator cuff, and I found that this is very good for just keeping your arm from moving too far. But
Christ, hang on. The doctors who buy the stopwatches could buy those.
That's right. Make a note of that. This is a great thing for keeping your boom arm from falling over, if you know what I mean. But also very good if you have a torn rotator cuff. Yes, I've been working on that for 20 minutes while Harlan's been working just to get a laugh.
I thought you were taking your blood pressure because I was just so exciting. It was so exciting you just couldn't help yourself.
I know. Let's not talk about my blood pressure. But anyway.
Any questions about this stuff? I think it might be one or two.
Yeah. What do we have here? We got a couple of port booth questions is what we have. Steve, now this is something I know about because you and I have discussed this extensively. Mr. Hogan mentioned hotel MacGyver. He was